Hi, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Women in Math and STEM, where our mission is to reach out to as many professionals, aspiring professionals, students, whatever you name it. We try to reach out to them, who essentially support the initiative of bringing more women and young girls into the STEM field. So, with that being said, as always, feel free to open up the description or transcript to better follow along, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hello, and thank you so much for being able to make it to this episode today and talking with me. Just to sort of start off, do you mind briefly introducing yourself, as well as telling us sort of what inspired you to become a math educator, as well as maybe how has your teaching philosophy changed, like been influenced or shaped over the years?
Hi, I am Abhishek Bhattacharjee. I'm a mathematician from India. I run two startups. One is Abstract Math Institute, which actually works to develop uh, students from a very grassroots level, mostly in mathematics and mathematical sciences. Uh, uh, I have another startup called Velocium.ai. We actively work on developing AI related solutions and also work on research on AI technologies. Mostly the research work has been done by the students from high school and college. In abstract math, we actually develop the core sciences, mostly mathematics and informatics, computer programming, data science, and that actually lead to industry works. And in Velocium, we do a lot of projects with big companies in India and America, in all over Europe. So students who have that basis, which go through a particular channel, which is mostly modeled on the IMO curriculum and extended to IOI and obviously added to advanced university grade courses, mostly taught by experts from best universities in India and Europe. So we started this thing as a friendly manner, like it was just a testimonial. I was teaching when I was in college, uh, just for some pocket money to truth to be told, but because I has been part of Olympiad, let's say programs in India for a very long time, so I decided why not? Because why not go to reach out to people? As you know, India is a huge country, and with a huge talent pool, there is lack of resources, proper, let's say, guide, and someone who can help students to deep, I mean, dive deep in the arena of the mathematics that has a completely different phase. Because mathematics here is completely mechanical. If you go to the school curriculum normally, as it happens to be in school, there are all sorts of children. So I we started that as a process of showing them how math can be different. So what started just as a project of pocket money, it later changed something as I started to understand that there is a need. There is a huge number of students who are finding themselves stagnant or let's say jailed in the system, who want to get out of it. There is requirement of somebody who come in with this new fresh air of knowledge and understanding and exploration. So that actually started, that actually inspired me to take this very seriously. And there is another part of the story is my own struggles were there. Well, I was also in the system. I felt the same. For me, the school curriculum was something that I was thriving. So I was thinking like, okay, I was great in that. And suddenly one day, one teacher came in. He was from Indian Statistical Institute. As you know, it's a very premium institute in not only in India but in the world in statistics. So he came and gave us a problem and I couldn't do it. And so it was like I was working on it for 2 damn weeks and then it was not happening. So suddenly it changed my perspective. So I understood that there are certain amount of things that world is doing, we are not. I of a significance, then I would like to definitely try being an educator and help more kids come up to the system. So over the years, what happened is I understood the impact of this kind of a program because like some of my friends who were that time the part of a IMO team has been now on the news. If you see Praful Dhadiwal, who made the GPT model, he was one of my teammates in the Indian Math Olympiad system. So he later on joined OpenAI, and he was actually Sam Altman. I mean, posted about him. So, so, so I saw the greater impact, and more so. I mean, I have to say that when I studied Chinese and the Korean system, I definitely could connect that how it actually propelled China's development and the Korea's development in 1990s, as well as certainly the amount of contribution Russian scientists have. So that actually evolved my understanding of how to teach and how to perceive a subject. That actually affected my students too. It created some sort of a human skills rather than just about the math as an academic subject. So it is something quite holistic experience for me as an educator.
That sounds really amazing. I was just wondering, sort of, how do you explain such complex mathematical concepts to make them like accessible but at the same time interesting to your students? And what do you do when your students feel really frustrated or really challenged and they might feel discouraged and not want to continue?
That's actually a great question. So the idea was that when I mean, it is very relatable again to my journey. So when I was starting to learn these things, for the first 6 months, I couldn't make a sense of anything that was been going on. So what happened is what I did, what changed the whole ball game for me, rather than studying a theory and then trying to fit in into a solution, my process of learning was let's start with a problem and go with the flow and see what might work out. So that is the same practice I tend to use rather than talking about lot of complex theories and lot of like these epsilons and stuff like that. I tend to give them some sort of a thought-provoking question. It comes out like for because we teach from various grades. Let's say for a sixth grader and seventh grader, we also teach them the same combinatorics. So we are teaching them advanced combinatorics, which we are again teaching to 11th and 12th grade. So the difference is the how we deliver. For a sixth and seventh grader, we take a much more storyline approach. So the problem is stated in a, let's say, very lucrative storyline that a sixth, seventh grader can relate to. Now, as they read, as they try out, my process is give them small hints or small ideas. They infuse them with little ideas in their thought process and see how it grows. And as soon as it growed, I tend to grow it to the aim of developing the theory. So starting from the problem, I tend to develop a theory. Then we actually take a harder problem after the problem is solved to derive the properties. As soon as it is being done, then we go to different exploration. This has been a very effective method actually mostly to teach very complex topics because here in India, let's say we have multiple boards. So in each state we have a different education board, and also we have two national curricula. These different students come from different capabilities. Like in CBSE, ICSE student has a fantastic computational ability. They are more computationally oriented than thinking very critically. In IB and IGCSE, students have some sort of much more evolved thinking capabilities, but they have zero formal understanding of mathematics. For them, math is like some sort of a, if math is like some sort of a, always a merry-go-round, like a magic show or something, they are very happy. As long as it is a challenging, they will just repel about it. So the different demographic is also a different challenge. So what we tend to do, we tend to cover up all the main basic deficiencies, and we assume a student is coming from a zero background. If that student knows something already, that is a bonus. So that fact, first of all, it actually also abolishes the hierarchy of the grades. Like sixth, seventh graders have that sort of understanding that okay, I'm sixth, seventh grader. How can we sit to the 11th grader in the same class? As time goes on and this thing gets abolished, you will be surprised that many 11th graders acknowledge that the 6th, 7th graders are better in thought process because they're young, they are not thinking about grades, they are not thinking about college admissions. So I actually prefer a lot of open dialogue. Many students in the time of frustration either they leave the whole thing or they tend to keep it to themselves, brew it much more higher level of anxiety. So I typically actually ensure that the dialogue is open with me. My students and I have a very, let's say, rather than a teacher-student, traditional teacher-student relationship, I try to maintain a relationship of a sibling or of a very good friend. So I tend to keep a very open dialogue with my students, and I tend to share my own struggles with them so that they can also relate to it. And sometimes I tend to drop a very important idea that they were struggling with, which actually come out as a sudden exploration of, let's say, new idea, which was I typically have seen work for most guys. Though obviously there are very introvert students, for them I actually try to talk to them in a separate manner because I we work with a very talented students who doesn't even believe that they are mathematically able. It is some sort of a different new challenge that at least a student give a fair chance to this subject. So it's a in many ways math has been perceived in a completely wrong manner as a fact that lot of students are repulsive about it. Yeah.
I see. That sounds really awesome. I was also just curious, do you have any specifically memorable or rewarding teaching experiences that you've had where you've helped a student succeed or you've helped a student think in a way that they've never thought before?
Actually, I was very lucky. I mean, in my last 10 years of teaching, I mean, I'm teaching like since I was 20, around 20. So in the last 10 years of my experience, I have some amazing students. I mean, Uh, I have like almost eight IMO medalists that I have taught so far. For four of them from America itself. Last year I had two students who represented two different countries uh, in IMO, as well as in IOI, Informatics Olympiad 2. So The very memorable thing that I have, so I have a student who just got accepted in Stanford this year. So, and he's also got accepted in Oxford and everywhere. He's a world scientific scholar. So, what happened is, so he was applying to various research math camps, to be honest, like Canada, US math camp and stuff. So, I came to know that there is a world scientific scholar, and I told him, okay, look, you apply for it. It's a very good program. It has a very important things. So when the questionnaires of these different camps were coming, he was actually having some hard time seeing how different way it was stated. So the fact that I changed the traditional way of problem solving to something else. So I tried to give him some sort of a research way. So which are actually as a researcher we normally handle, which is not typically Olympiad problem, right? It's a completely open-ended different problem. The fact that after he worked on those open-ended problems is actually opened his idea of how to solve open-ended questions. He led to the two papers he wrote as a high schooler. It was a great experience for me that not only just as an Olympiad problem solver, because we always need to see beyond IMO, because IMO ends at after 12th grade. What's after that? So I always see that IMO is a pathway of your growth. It's one of the best process and the programs that can be available in the world in mathematics. If you are someone willing to do math, you take that pathway. Whether you go to IMO or not, it's not that important. The main important is that how you carry forward in the future. And for me, it was very satisfying that when I saw him grow, his name is Naman Jain. He's from Bangalore in India. And then there is another guy. So I used to do Mathematical Association of America. They run the AMC program in India too. So I was actually heading their whole Southeast Asia program, also Middle East program for 2 years. For the organization, they have extended the courtesy to doing AMC and AIM. So we were planning to send a team from India to Harvard MIT to math tournament. So for that, we have conducted some sort of selection test. In the selection test, I came to see some of the students who are actually not only corrected some of the mistaken, I mean the misprinting mistake problems, they're actually creating new problems and sending me solutions. So, and the fact that there was a seventh grader who was solving IMO problem, I was surprised in initial interaction with him because it was first time I met someone like him. Though I have heard about Terence Towns and all the prodigies, that was the first time I have seen. And in Bangalore, there is a famous foundation of mathematics. Dr. Poshan Low and many other top mathematicians came there. So in that, we were doing a camp, and one lady from she brought four of her students. So in Bangalore, there is a exponential school, they say. So from there, she brought in her four of her students. And while interacting with them, I saw that though they are not very formally mathematically trained, there are two boys who are extremely talented. So one boy came to me and presented me that he has done some work on collage conjecture. And that time his work was completely like not at all organized. It's completely to and fro rough work. And now at like when I started working and helping him to rewrite his paper, rewrite how he can format it properly. Though I'm not a number theorist, I was helping him how to write a paper in formal method. He has came to a long way. Last year he attended Canada US math camp. Sumac. He's already he he has given the national format of Indian system, which is INMO. He's an American citizen itself, so he's also qualified at AMC, gave AIM. So like the growth of it, it's actually it's though it's not a particular moment, the growth of the students. And also, like, there was a one girl student, she was preparing for sixth, seventh grade. And at eighth grade, which is very rarely happens, she directly qualified IOQM, RMO, and INMO. And went to be the part of the team selection camp of India IMO TST, as well as the EGMO TST, European Girls Olympiad. So it was, I was just a guide. It was all her and her determination. And that was a great, I would say, it was one of the most satisfying achievements for me because in abstract math, we have a very strict focus on women in math STEM, mostly women in mathematics, how to develop women, girls, in the sector of mathematics because when I was studying, I have seen not many girls are coming to, uh, let's say, in the mathematics programs. Mostly they are going to engineering programs or fine arts programs, and many of them, though they are capable, they do not believe. So we have that like let's say a wrong mindset in many cases that like girls are not always mathematical. So it was a history that STEM in women are neglected for a long time. I think we are still facing those challenges of the mindset changes. But I personally am very, very much aware and would like to change it. So I very, very much we try to give some scholarship to young, talented girls who are into mathematics. And so that was one of the prime programs, I can say, as a highlight.
Sounds good. I just wanted to say your experiences sound really amazing and really cool. And I guess sort of like on the same idea of like mentoring or sort of being friends or being siblings with all these amazing students, I was wondering, how do you really want to be remembered or how do you want your teaching to be remembered or like seen by your students?
See, for me, because I am also a mathematician myself, so for me, it will be great that they remember me as someone who ignited and gave them that vision or a pathway of whatever they wanted to do in terms of mathematics and technology. Someone they feel that has ignited or accelerated or showed them the pathway when they were lost. It is something very, very important to me also. That was the reason I established abstract math. Because many students are good, not only good, they are just great, but they just don't have someone to guide with the proper resource and everything. So the overall impact, what I always one like to see from a student is that they see me as someone who has like held their hands in the time of where there is chaos and show them the pathway that they wanted to achieve, they are entitled to achieve. That's why when Naman said, "Look, I was lost," and I was grateful. His mom said to me last week also when I went to meet him to congratulate of all the success. That she was searching a teacher for a very long time because Naman was an excellent. Naman was a, let's say, exponential learner in a way. That's a very common word I'm hearing nowadays. So Naman was someone who is very gifted. But the challenge of being gifted is also as much as challenge of someone struggling. And nobody talks about the challenge of a gifted student in a general education system. Because those students are, because they are great, though they will be dragged into all sorts of things, but there is no proper system of guiding them in the schools, in any area. So his mom was saying that the standard school system actually slowed him down. and she was going to engineering colleges, best universities, requesting professors to teach him. Nobody was entertaining him. And when the question paper of the IMO like questions were being shared, nobody was feeling comfortable because they haven't done this kind of problems too. So as a result, no one had slowed down. But suddenly we met in that camp again. That camp in Agastya was talking about. Uh, so he was supposed to come there. As soon as she shared to help him correct some of the solutions he's writing, we connected. And within 1 year, no one qualified all the exams. He has done all the research work. He's extended. So, and they said like, if we had met you earlier when he was in sixth, seventh grade, he would have achieved what he could do more. So I think that sort of things gives me lot of satisfaction that I have a very important role in their life, in their growth. So that is, I think, the reward enough for me. Because at the end of the day, when they will, reach to the professional arena, we will be colleagues. I will be working on my math projects. They will be working on their math projects. Abstract math, my students who had seen the success in the IMO or studying in Stanford, they come back as a future mentor. So that is also another program we run. The student become mentors in like most of the mentors in abstract math who has been the second and the third year student in Stanford or Caltech or Berkeley who has just been came out of the IMO, just given IMO or INMO or been part of a national camp or MOP in America because I was part of their international outreach team for a couple of years. So that is actually very rewarding.
That sounds really amazing. I was also just wondering, like, what goals are you currently working towards, or what projects are you currently working on?
Hi,
Hello?
I can't hear you actually. You got stuck.
Oh,
Yeah, now I can hear
is
you.
it okay? Sounds good. I just wanted to say that sounds absolutely wonderful. And I was also just wondering, sort of, what current goals or current projects are you working on, and sort of where do you see yourself in the future in terms of being a mathematician and being a math educator?
So there are a couple of, I mean, many projects that we are working on. So I extend this thing to what which we are doing for the high schoolers, also to the college going students. Because see, at the end of the day, seats of the best universities are limited. Let's say if you go to Stanford, there hardly will be hardly 50 students studying in a math computer science program. Or in MIT, there can be only 30 or 40 students studying in this math program or a computer science program. But that doesn't mean the guys who are not studying in the best universities don't have the talent. So then what about their same kind of exposure that they are also entitled to, like the Ivy League girls or the guys who are Institute, IIT. It's a very serious thing because for country like India, it's much more evident. Due to main because the selection process in our universities are exam driven, and there is age bars that after certain age you cannot appear for those entrances. The dreams of being best get shattered for many students, and mostly because in India the university does matter because the curriculum is highly varied university to university. The way a subject is seen in university is very different. So my next stage of goal is to bridge that gap. Wherever you study, you get to see the exposure of that advanced mathematics in the different way of mathematics which an MITian is seeing or a Stanfordian is seeing. A Harvard student, a Berkeley student, Oxford student is getting, or a ISIC student are getting. So what we do is we again take some competitions like Patnam, Tournament of Towns, something like that. Actually, I am also trying to talk Mathematical Association of America if they extend their hands to give us access to Putnam competition for every student to be conducted in India, even though it's informal way. So to drag them, to help those students to see the world of actual mathematics, how problem solving can be incorporated rather than just having a math book and you memorize the proofs and then write it down on the exam, which is what is happening in many Indian universities. Not all, I mean the most of it, because as you can understand, as a country which is growing up economically 100%, it's not always all states are not as rich as like some of the Western states, let's say. So the state universities go through let's say sheer lack of funding. So that leads to sheer lack of great professors. Without great professors, great mindset won't come. And also, like, there are other factors because fundings are not always properly coming, and students also get frustrated. And because of the daily struggles of life, catches you, grabs you very, very fast when you are frustrated. So that is a part I would like to open up the doors for them. That wherever college you get to see the great exposure. You get to be an independent researcher. Just leave the college and the formal structure system. You can come to another system as well as capably do it. That actually also lead to the requirement of the age of AI. I would say after the AI came in, lot of the traditional jobs are gone. But I strictly disagree that there are no jobs. The simply what AI has done, the AI has also brought in lot of jobs that got abolished. For example, I can give you, if you see the gaming is complete very hardcore advanced level programming. Let's say if you are developing games like Assassin's Creed or Prince of Persia, whatever the games people have seen, those games require very extensive quality of coding. And those extensive quality of coding, which is artistic along with that coding, artistic is always unique. No LLM models are capable to do that. And now this generation, I mean, though it is sad to say, but that is a fact, a true fact. We tried to hire some people, and 99% of those people, though they have PhDs, degrees, master degrees, they couldn't code because they are the GPT generation. For them, it was like give outsource that work to GPT. And but GPT can't do that advanced level of coding in gaming industry. And the guys who were coding that time has rose to the top levels of CEOs and stuff. They do not want to come back to the gaming industry. So now gaming industry is struggling to find the advanced level coders. So the fact that like you will see many videos, like many CEOs are saying that coding is dead. Coding is not dead. The standard way of simple coding is dead. You don't need a coder to do the simple tasks, simple codings, simple website making codings. But whenever it comes to very advanced levels of skill set, no LLMs are able to do it yet. And I believe as a mathematician, if the P versus NP problem is not solved, no LLMs or no neural network system is going to do it in any way. Because what LLMs do, we have a very wrong idea of what LLMs do. LLM can only imitate if there is a past data about. So if somebody has done some work, LLM can imitate it and do some sort of advanced modification. That it can do, and that is amazing because being able to do by understanding the pattern all by itself from a machine is something completely new. But that is not at all there in the ability to replace a human creativity. LLM can't suddenly get an idea of Picasso. It can't create a great those details you can see in Vatican City created by Michelangelo. It cannot create made the helicopter designs done by Leonardo da Vinci in his do. That is humans can do. So what happened is now excellence, what was in previous time before AI, excellence was optional. For world, it was okay. We know there are some people who will be excellent. They will be leading the world. There are some people okay. They might not be excellent, but they are also some of the drivers of the whole process. Those requirement of those drivers got lessened, but the idea of excellence is very important is actually now emerged. In the age of today's AI race, the guys who have excellent skill sets are required, and that is required in every sector. So that is also another process that giving them advanced, proper, formal exposure, developing a very advanced grade skill will also make them highly valuable to the industry. Like simple example, we do not get a back-end developer. I mean, I do not know your background, whether you are coming from a computer science or math, but for say for a website, if you develop, you need a back-end developer, right? So I consult many schools in India. So one of the schools they are doing some project, they required a back-end developer. For past 8 months, we couldn't find a capable back-end developer. And that school is paying a handsome money for to hire that back-end developer. So that is sort of a requirement of the industry that it went back to the excellence. If you are excellent what you are able to do, you have those places for them. So that is a very, very important fact that also that skill set development in the college sector, which we will do upcoming time. And obviously do lot of original research. And we will drag students, we will encourage students to do original research from high school level and create an infrastructure and collaboration with that, which can lead to both industrial, academic, and future proof work. Let's say industrial development can be made completely academic and or completely highly impactful work, which can be theoretical. But theoretical works are the basis of all industrial work, right? It might not be valuable at that point, but it can be valuable in the future.
That makes a lot of sense. Also, to sort of end off, I was wondering if you had any advice for current math educators or students who are interested in math.
So for students, I would say uh, do not ignore the requirement of your biological development. By the word biological development, what I say, as see, if you compare the people, let's say who were born in 17th century, take Isaac Newton, Leonard Paul Euler. Paul Euler in his in his lifetime has wrote more than 1,000 theorems. 90% of those theorems are correct. And the impact of those theorems are so far that you still remember what we still use Euler's work. Think about Newton. How can a guy can work on physics and mathematics so impactfully that there is no way you are studying math and you are not hearing the word Isaac Newton. And check it happened at the times in 17th century, 18th century. Though there are many other factors, but the most important factor is because they were calculating things mechanically, they're finding things mechanically, they're understanding things mechanically, they are actually giving their brains to evolve. So that is actually biomechanical development they're giving, letting them happen in their body. But as the digitization start, calculators, computers came in. Think about last 10 years, or let's say last 100 years. From the mid of the 19th century, when computers started to taking shape, till the to 2025. Can you name any impactful mathematician or any impactful scientist who you can compare with in the level of Newton, Euler's? You won't. There are greats. I mean, there are greats like Terence Tao, Gregory Perelman. But again, it's not Euler who wrote 800 theorems, eight god damn theorems that is being used in physics, computer science, mathematics. The whole dynamics is being shaped. Think about in the 17th century, how many new theorems came up? Abstract algebra came up, commutative rings, commutative algebra came up, whole new sector of calculus came up. And there was a very long, not a long period of stalemate was there also in mathematics. It is growing so fast. But now you see we are at a point that we are at a stalemate. No new mathematical concepts are coming out. In many research, if you go to check Riemann hypothesis and the other research, there is no available tools to work on it anymore. So we are at a stalemate in research. And yet no proper significant new theories are coming up. If you check the Gödel's theorem, which is an incompleteness theorem in mathematics, it also indirectly says we have to keep on inventing new forms of math. But that is not happening. So for me, out of there many other factors, which is a 40 to 50% thing, the next rest of the 50% thing that human beings ignored biomechanical development. You can just check, I mean, I'm checking because this is your podcast. Student can check the notebook of Riemann, who wrote the Riemann hypothesis, Riemannian geometry, Riemannian integrals. In his notebook, you will find he has calculated square root of 2 by hand. And that was after decimal 35 digits. He has calculated in his notebook 35 digits mechanically just to understand the patterns of irrational, how the irrationals can be patternized, and which has had a very important role his ideas on understanding of numericals, which has an indirect impact on the Riemann hypothesis he wrote in the development of prime number. So that sort of a mechanical development, none of, see, most of the students use calculator. They do not have the idea of Trachtenberg method or doing the computation. They do not know the, let's say, the properties of numbers, beauties of numbers. The first advice will be do not become digital. Do not become a user of the digital aid like GPT or AI, math software, lot of software. Rather be a creator of them. Most of the creators are not users of them. They themselves just created, they're selling it, but they are practitioners of mechanical. Go back to studying books. Do not go for the notes and whatever the exam-based study. Learn to love the subject. Learn to explore the subject. Always try to be two steps ahead of your teacher in the classroom. It is best to challenge your teacher on that day. I personally practice that. I was always planning to be two steps ahead of what my teacher is going to teach. It's a second advice I will give. That will be great growth because then you can talk with the teacher at a level. The learning and the learning that teacher will impart will be at the next level. Third will be absolutely go to the exploration without being hesitant and be ready to fail. Students do not like to fail. Failing is something much more beneficial than success. It sounds weird, but most of the failures lead to a grand success that you can't fathom. Be ready to failure and be ready to learn from the failure. And very much important that never restrict your learning. Never compromise the practices that you need to maintain in your learning. Compromisation is unacceptable. Second is be respectable to the opinion. Do not discard the opinions of the people who mean something. By that term who means something, I am not saying that anybody who says you do not, you just listen to them. Mostly whenever mostly my point was that whenever something is coming up, rather than accepting or discarding it immediately, think logically whether that makes sense or not. Be mathematical in your understanding, be logical in your understanding. Not necessarily you have to be a mathematician, but you can still use your logical understanding to make rightful decisions. If some teacher is saying you, okay, this might work, you should consider that words very seriously. Students do not do that much often. For educators, see, do not, I would 100% say, do not bind your students in a curriculum or in the nitty-gritties of the class. Give them the independence of the thought. Give them the right to dissent. Give them make an environment for there rather than there is a hierarchy. There is some sort of a let's say equal dialogue. Though obviously you have to maintain some sort of a let's say hierarchy, but that must not feel like a hierarchy to the. It must be felt like your parents or your older siblings or a very dear older friend is talking. Somebody they can open up. Update yourself regularly. The dire idea of teaching is actually not imparting what you know, rather learn what you don't know. So it is a co-learning habitat. You learn from your students, and to teach your students daily, you again learn things. Keep yourself up to date, and that learning you impart. Never be discarding of the opinion of a student. But if there is an illogical argument, do not hesitate to point it out. Secondly, though it is a student, you have to be leader in the class. Unless until you are the leader in the class, a student who is going through multiple things, it's very likely to get lost because you are there to lead them to a proper pathway, to the pathway of life. Never hesitant of being sharing the resource. Share a resource, be hesitant of the age or of the capabilities. Take them to a particular scenario to dive it in. Obviously, think this is a generic scenario. There are various exceptional cases for the student. A student is really struggling, you cannot immediately dive into a very difficult. So that flexibility of the mind, it should be there. Like making a personalized pathway as much as possible as an educator is very important for the students also.
Makes sense. I just wanted to say once again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come speak with me. I really appreciated your insight and it was very phenomenal hearing everything. So thank you so much.
It's great to talk with you. Obviously, it's, anything you require also. Anything to reach out. I will be there, happy to help because, as I think you must have understood, I'm there mostly to help students whatever way, and it's a great work that you have done. I was following some of your videos and especially the work you are trying to impart to encourage girls in STEM. If any possible way I can be part of any help to you, I am actually very much open to do that. Do not hesitate, and thank you for having me. So it's great.
Oh, thank you. I just want to say I'm very honored to have a guest like you to come and speak. So thank you.
Thank you.